my name is Stacy Takuchi. I'm with the Global Talent Brand team here at LinkedIn. And it is my honor to be able to introduce you to fabulous speakers. I think you guys are absolutely going to love this session. Rich content, really good stuff. So here I have Andrew Levy with Autodesk and Nando Rodriguez with Ogilvy and Mather. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Cool.
Okay? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Oh, spirited. All right. So my name is Andrew Levy. I'm with Autodesk. I'm the talent brand and social media manager for Autodesk, for TA. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the social story at Autodesk. So to start, I'll give a little background on the company and what we do. So a lot of you probably know us for AutoCAD and the architectural software. The building that we're in right now, likely designed in AutoCAD, but we do a ton more than that. So this bridge, some of you may have seen or driven over today. Our products are used in a lot of infrastructure processes as well. And beyond that, things like cars and consumer products. So we are involved in not only the mechanics of the car, but also the surfacing and how you visualize the car or market it. So this isn't actually even a photograph. It's a rendering of a future car. You may have seen these. So we don't just do big things. It's small items as well. And then probably the least known is our media and entertainment division. So movies like Avatar, Gravity, games, things like that. Autodesk has products involved in those as well. All right. So a little bit of demographics about the company. We're founded in 1982 in Marin. That kind of makes us a dinosaur to the tech sector, but we do some pretty awesome stuff to keep us current. We've got about 8,000 employees globally. And that's in 37 countries. And 107 offices, the two biggest of which are in the Bay Area. And this is actually a picture from, I would argue, our coolest office, which is Pier 9. And Pier 9 is this really neat space. It's a maker space for people to kind of push the boundaries of our software and create things that they can use in art and just to play with. So we actually host the Artist in Residence program as well in Pier 9, and that's where people kind of come in and just do wild and wacky projects. And you can find a lot of these online, so go Google some images. Cool, so the social story itself. The strategy is actually pretty simple. There are 3 points. It's tell an amazing story, partner with everyone and anyone you can find, and recruiters, this is probably key for you. It's very difficult for you to do your day job in and of itself. And then how about telling the story over social? I mean, that's just very difficult. So find people who can help you within the company. And finally, measure, but don't obsess. Social is pretty hard to measure, so don't really worry about it at this point. Cool. So I'll go through each of those 3 prongs. This first one is telling our fantastic story. So I'll give a little advice on kind of what that means, and what telling a fantastic story really is around content itself. So how do you make really great content? Speak like a person. Stop marketing. All of these things that you see out there are really polished. That really doesn't resonate in the social atmosphere. Lift the curtain. So tell the story behind what you're doing. People really want to connect with what's going on in the back, not necessarily the marketing speak from the front. And unfortunately, you have to spend a little money. Social media isn't free anymore. And when I say spend a little money, I'm really talking about a little money. So $60, what did Autodesk get for $60? We were awarded the Great Places to Work Multinational, number 11. And we thought, this is a great piece of content to share on social. What if we put a couple dollars behind it? And what did that get? So on Facebook, for $60, you can get 101,000 impressions, 300 likes, and 117 clicks. That's pretty incredible when you think about doing some pretty specific targeting to the people you want to reach. All right, so some advice on social. Really spend the time with your targeting. There are like-happy countries out there that will eat up your budget really fast. So really think about where you want these people to come from and who you want to engage with, and use the tools that the social media platforms give you to kind of amplify that content. All right. Now, how many of you have someone who manages like a careers-related channel for you? So like a talent brand manager. That's actually pretty great. That's awesome. So how many of you have your own, like, yeah, my boss is raising her hand, that would be me. How many of you have your own like recruiter-specific channel that you use, like your own Twitter or LinkedIn? That's pretty good too. But I would say about half the room doesn't have one of those at their ready. So what do you do in that case? That's where the partnerships come in. There are these things called dark posts, and this is a little bit technical on the social side, so if you're interested in this, come grab me afterwards. You can run a dark post on Facebook using the corporate channel. So the Autodesk.com channel is a great opportunity for you as a recruiter to partner and say, I want to put my job out there, but marketing kind of doesn't let you in. They won't let you on that channel. So what do you do there? You post it behind the scenes and then do the sponsorship dollars in front of it. So I'm happy to kind of work with you guys on how to do that, but it's a great tool. Same thing goes with Twitter. You can do sponsorships there, and then obviously LinkedIn. Really consider using that corporate channel to post your jobs. All right, so that's spending a little money. I'm actually going to go into a little bit of examples on the content itself and what it really means to make great content that resonates with people. So I'll go live to this. Cool. So I worked with a guy in marketing. We had this problem of, people know us for AutoCAD, but they don't really know the rest of the company. So we just slapped something together on SlideShare, using images that we already had, to tell a little bit of a story for candidates in a really, really fast kind of BuzzFeed style way. The results from this were pretty spectacular. So actually, I can just scroll down and show you live. So this has been up for a couple months, and it's gotten about 250,000 views. And the reason why it's gotten that is because we created something that's very simple, easily consumed, and then encouraged everyone and anyone within the company to share it in as many ways as they can think of. Putting it on their LinkedIn profile, putting it in their signature, talking with candidates. It's a fantastic educational tool that they can come back to all the time. This has gotten 2,200 shares, I think, at this point. Recruiters use it all the time, and candidates reference it actually during the interview process. So kind of think about some channels that you wouldn't normally think about. SlideShare is actually a fantastic social tool. Video. Now, a lot of people are really afraid of video because of either the cost or you don't necessarily know how to edit. We ran this great program with employees that they could just submit 6-second clips to the recruitment team of what they love about their job, what they do on a daily basis, what their environment's like. Again, it's that lifting the curtain idea. This is the type of content that people really want to share for you. So we got about, I think, 50 or 60 submissions back. I slapped it together in iMovie, put a song behind it, threw it up on YouTube, and encouraged people to do that same sort of thing. Put it in your profile, put it on in your email signature, just send it out to candidates as you reach out to them. The results are pretty great too. It's 13,000 views at this point. And again, it gets referenced by candidates as a really fun piece of content that they actually can connect with us on. All right, this is my favorite part of my job right now. So we are working with a startup called OnGig to produce these video job descriptions. I'm sure you all are moaning right now thinking about a job description and just that painful process. Wow, that's really big. What this does is it wraps all of our positions and sorts them by location, by job type, things like that. You can tie specific content to it. So again, it's kind of showing that backstory, showing our offices, and also showing the hiring manager themselves. The candidate can easily, on this platform up here, kind of share on their own. You can see this is a director level position, and people at that level are sharing this with their networks and amplifying your content that way. They can also directly engage with us and ask questions right on the job description. And then, of course, there's the text itself. So, editing that text and making it a little more personable, really so that they understand what they're doing in their job. The platform's called OnGig. Those guys are awesome. It's a startup based in the Bay Area, and they're really fantastic to work with. They really work with you on all of your requirements. And this video, you might be afraid of the video thing again. This video was just shot using a link, Microsoft Linked. So you just record your conversation. It's grainy. She's got her headset. It's poorly lit. That's fantastic. Again, it's that lifting the curtain, being, I know, you guys are giggling, but I'm serious. I actually encourage people to put up, some of these have little blips and, bandwidth issues as we're recording the video. That's fine. That's really great for this social media platform. All right, so that covers the first part around content. Why these on-gig videos are so fantastic is, it tells that complete story. This director-level candidate, again, was converted after kind of seeing the whole picture, that whole curtain, pulling the curtain back. And from the recruiter's perspective, we have this great recruiter. She's always saying funny things. Moving pictures are worth 1,000 words. The manager is actually showing them to your candidates really enable them to understand a lot better from their perspective, from the manager perspective, what the jobs are like. Cool. So, second section is the partner with everyone and anyone. What this really means is building bridges within the organization. You're too busy to do this all yourself. So find people who are going to help you. You leverage a publishing platform. We use two at Autodesk, and I'll explain those a little bit more. And then go on the road and train people on what it means to share content, what it means to develop content. So, publishing platforms. Oops. We implemented this fantastic platform called Project Bonfire. And basically what this is this is enabling employees to sign in to this one website. The content that's in here is put up here by the communications professionals within the company. So someone in marketing, someone in the AutoCAD product division, someone from each of the divisions, including careers, will put up jobs, we'll put up all sorts of cool stories that people can share. Once they're signed in with their social accounts, all they have to do is click and share. And share. There we go. So consider, having your recruitment department explore something like this. And then from the internal publishing platform, we use Buddy Media for the communication professionals to share jobs out on the corporate channel. So you can partner with them as well to get your jobs out on those channels. All right. So what does Glassdoor and transparency have to do with partnerships? When you schedule an interview with a candidate, what do you think is the first thing they do? Go to Glassdoor. It's a little bit of a leading question. It is partially go to Glassdoor, and then the next thing that they do is look at your hiring manager's profiles on LinkedIn. I had a great conversation at dinner last night about Glassdoor and who technically should own this. Should it be marketing? Do I have the right to play in this space? Of course you do. So partner with the people that really matter to get the right types of reviews up on Glassdoor. Encourage your hiring managers to talk to their groups to say, hey, you guys, take a couple minutes and put up what your job is like. Be honest about this. We've seen fantastic results with Glassdoor. There's statistics out there that say that 50% of the candidates actually use the reviews that are up there to make the decision to take a job. And since we've run these campaigns, we've only done about 2 so far, one with the interns and one with marketing, of getting people to pull in content, put up reviews, put up photos. We've seen, a 42% increase in the activity on Glassdoor year over year. And a 10% increase in the overall rating of the company, and a 16% CEO increase. Now, when you think about how many people are actually coming and looking at that, this is really, really affecting our employer brand positively. And that's just by sending a couple emails internally to the group, encouraging the people that you work with to review the company that they work at. All right, this is the leading question again. So they get the email with the hiring manager schedule. You know, they have their panel. What are they doing? They're going to LinkedIn and looking at their profiles. LinkedIn, I think, refers to it as rock your profile. I like to refer to it as don't be boring. What this really means is, going out there, training your employees. You can't just say, I work at Autodesk anymore. Be a little bit personal. Show what you actually do at the company. Show what you love to do. That tells a much more compelling story and makes people really want to engage with you. And remember all that fun stuff that we made at the beginning, that video, those 7 reason documents? You don't have to work really hard to make a ton of content. You just have to make the great stuff and then encourage people to put it everywhere. That's how you get the amplification. All right, data. This one's a beast, and I will be perfectly transparent. I don't really have the answer to it yet. Measure data, but don't obsess about it. Social media is incredibly important. I kind of ran some numbers based on our hires last quarter to say maybe 72% of them were directly influenced by some sort of digital activity. That means our social media posts. That means recruiters playing around in LinkedIn, contacting people. That's a huge number. Why does this number really not matter at all? Everything is. Let's be honest. People are going to engage with you digitally everywhere. And I was just in the Lou Adler talk, and I think he said it really well. The best thing about technology these days, particularly smartphones, is the fact that it has a phone. So be a recruiter. Actually go out there and contact people. Social is great. It helps amplify your message, but really that one-on-one thing is incredibly important. I put this up here just for reference for you guys for later. When you get the slide deck, you can kind of see where the things are coming from. What about data in the future? Why do we want to get this source of hire type data? It will help you tell the right story to your candidate groups. But right now, really just focus on telling the honest and transparent story through social. That will be the amplification of your content. That's it. I'm going to pass it over. You're up.
All right. My presentation probably won't be as fantastic because as everyone else was prepping and doing research, I was doing research, but more on the weather for hair purposes. So I think I nailed it. I'm not sure. I'm sure you guys will do it on the feedback form. So just let me know. All right. So I want to talk to you about how to increase your social media equity in 5 easy steps, right? It's just simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've laid out a plan. So if you have any questions afterwards, please just feel free to ask. I'm Mexican, so I speak really fast, okay? So I want to tell you a little bit about my story. About 7 years ago, I was actually working at a pharmaceutical company recruiting, right? And so I was discovering Twitter at that time. And so I was figuring out how companies were using it, businesses, and really, really early on, the only thing I knew about Twitter was that if you tweeted Popeyes and said that their service was horrible, they'd give you a $5 coupon for some free gravy. So I was stocking up on the gravy, let me tell you. But then I got fired. I got fired from that job because my boss was like, what are you doing? What is this Twitter? And I tried to explain, but I didn't know how to explain it very well, that we could tap into this. So I got fired. And in New York, when you get fired, you get fired, you freak out, you gain 20 pounds in that order. So I was trying to figure out, there's something about this social media. How do I make it work for me? So I stopped recruiting. And I actually just went on the blogger circuit. So I was blogging, I was vlogging, I was doing everything in between. And then fast forward to a couple of years later, Ogilvy knocks on my door and says, we see you have around 8 years experience recruiting, and we see that you're into social media because you have a ton of followers, you have a lot of subscribers on YouTube. So would you please be our social media recruiter? And I was like, oh my God, this is kind of cool. So I want to walk you through sort of my process and my steps that got me to, while you're all here, is that record 45-minute hire that I made, and I'm really, really proud of, okay? So, first of all, let me see if I got this. Yeah, okay. Your employer brand. And see, we're all, if you're how many of you are recruiters, right? Like everyone here? Yeah, okay. If you're recruiting, you're already portraying or displaying your employer brand when you're speaking to the candidate, when you're on the phone, when you're doing the one-on-ones, you're repping the brand already. So for me, for this job now that I'm head of employment branding, it's just taking it to the next level, right? So for me, there is no separation between employer brand, recruiting, and social media. It's all one for me. So I kind of want to show you how that happens. So when you're doing an employer brand, and you're trying to push it out there as much as you can visually, right? And Andrew was talking about that too. So how do we do that? We take different approaches at Ogilvy, right? So we're an advertising agency. We're creative. We do the whole 360 round circle there, right? So I was able to tap into our creatives and say, we at Ogilvy, we have these Ogilvy-isms because of David Ogilvy, and they're treasured quotes, there's treasured philosophy that he passed down to us that we truly believe in to this day. And so one of his most infamous quotes is, if you hire people that are bigger than you, we shall become a company of giants. And so we're always talking about Ogilvy Giants, right? So I worked with a copywriter, and I'm like, instead of just throwing out that quote one more time, let's kind of flip it and reverse it and kind of do something new with it. So it's like, how about activate your inner giant, right? And if you see on there, which I have to admit, I'm not a designer, anything like that. He threw this at me. I'm like, oh, Christmas. But if you look at it just a little bit closer, it's actually like the Hulk, or like the arm of a giant. I didn't see it until 6 months later. I don't know what to say, right? So tap into the creativity in your company, right? And sometimes there's people there that are into Photoshop, in design. You just have to ask, and these people will pop up. I'm fortunate where I get to hire these people, and so they kind of owe me one, right? Oh, here's another big one. The reward is being part of the challenge. So, just throw it in there, make it visual, make it more appealing. Things like this have really helped your folks. So what about your employer brand really shines, right? For us, it's our people, and everyone always says that. And so we're putting them out there. We're putting all these folks up on our job descriptions, right? Because research shows us that if the candidate can see themselves at that job, they'll apply and they'll click, right? So that's what we want. We just happen to have really good-looking people at Ogilvy, so just saying, right? So it works to our advantage. But these are all on our job descriptions, and we tweet them out, and we put them on LinkedIn, and we do everything that we possibly can with them. And then your space. You might take your space for granted because you see it all the time. You're walking by like, oh my God, here we go again. But this is this is the New York office, one of the hallways there, and it's like really, really cool. Liz, it's like the 10th floor, right? See, Ogilvy is so huge there that sometimes I mix the floors up, and it wasn't until last year I even went to the 10th floor. So but you take things for granted, or you're just kind of in a shell. You need to see things through a different lens, and what would motivate your talent to click and apply and want to come and work for you. Some people, it's the space. I know that I spoke to a recruiter from Google, and I'm a little bit naive. I'm a little bit, really get excited. I'm like, tell me about your slide there. And they're like, oh, you have to talk about the slide one more time. But that's exciting to people. So if you have a slide, if you have like cool artwork like this, put it out there. Make sure that people see that. Second thing, be social. And that's my puppy, Leona. Who's at home, very sad right now. Second thing, how to amplify, right? So the first thing is be visual with your brand, and I gave you examples. The second thing is be social. So get on Twitter and make sure you use it effectively. I have a 4-to-1 ratio rule on Twitter, which means that for every 4 tweets that I tweet out, how's the weather, this is great, I'm sharing other people's content, whatever, then I get to tweet out a job description, or I'm hiring. Because if you become that noisy person person on Twitter that's just like, I'm hiring, I have this job, da-da-da, then you're going to get tuned out a lot faster, and you're not going to create that equity that you're looking for on Twitter, and you're not going to be known as that as that professional or that authority in your field, okay? So I do the 4-to-1 ratio, so just keep that in mind. About social. If you're not comfortable with social, find someone who is, right? And just because social exists doesn't mean that you have to be on every single platform. You will get burned out. You have to recruit, right? So you have to figure out what is working for me to my most advantage, right? And don't force your recruiters, every single one of them, to be on social, right? Don't get little Agnes, who's about to retire in about 2 years, in charge of Snapchat, you know? It's just not gonna work for you guys. So what you wanna do is you wanna do like assessments and assess your talent, your recruiters, and figure out, okay, you're the Twitter rock star, you're the Facebook, you're the LinkedIn, and start doing that, right? Creating the content and push it out there. Number 3, how to increase your social media equity is have a call to action. Yes, here's my job description. If you're interested, apply here. But if you add 2 more things to it, you're going to increase your own value, your own personal brand, and that's having a call to action. And you do it at the bottom, right? And it says, call to action. And what you want to do is say, please contact Jessica at LinkedIn, and you hyperlink it once you've applied online, and let her know that you're interested. Only those that are qualified will be contacted, because otherwise, you know, you get into this whole black box of stuff. You do that with Twitter as well. Tweet at @NandoRecruit once you've applied online, etc. Or for private messages, message him on LinkedIn, right? People kind of already know this already, but you know, you've read that whole connect the dots for people so they can quickly get maneuver through the process. This is what you're doing. Your call to action will actually increase your social value. We did this, I did this here at Ogilvy, and because I added this call to action, it increased my social media engagement by 43%, okay? That's a lot of tweets. But then that led to the 45-minute hire, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. The 4th thing is, and it got cut off, LinkedIn, really? Okay. Like, post, and share like a LinkedIn superhero. What I mean about this is you're already on LinkedIn. You're already using a recruiter. Take it to the next level and really take advantage of that platform. And you can do that very easily by becoming that authority in whatever industry, whatever field that you're recruiting in. So how do you do that? You do that very simply by sharing other content. Other recruiters are out there posting articles, Fast Company, Inc., Nando. You know, just when you find something that's cool, share it, like it, comment on it, because what's happening is that you're getting put up on the top all of a sudden. It's sort of like Facebook, and people will, when they log on to LinkedIn, they'll start seeing your content, they'll start seeing you a little bit more, and it's like, who's this recruiter? Let me follow him, let me find out a little bit more about him, right? So you're raising your social media equity by doing that. And the last thing that I want you to do is think about leveraging your influencers, right? You can't do this by yourself. Little Agnes is about to retire. You force her to get on Twitter, and she's probably, by the time she retires next year, she'll have maybe 8 followers, okay? So what you want to do is you want to leverage who your top influencers already are, because they exist in your company already, right? And you might be surprised who these folks are. So, you know, you mention this when you're doing your staff meetings, when you're speaking to hiring managers. Okay, you're going to give me a brief on the job description, but now I need you to come back and tell me who your top influencers are in your team. They're going to be thrown back a little bit, right, because they don't expect recruiters to talk back. But you need to incorporate this into your recruiting process, and then you'll start seeing that your influencers are really going to be the key to really pushing out your content and really getting you that authority. And then, if you're interacting between one another, it really gives you a little bit more. Had no idea it was right in front of me. I'm looking behind me. All right, this is my last slide anyway, so it doesn't really matter. All right, so I want to talk to you guys about this really cool thing that happened. It was a 45-minute hire. That occurred. Okay, so it was, and we can have, oh, did you guys feel like the dramatic lighting happened? It's really cool, right? I did not pay anyone to do that. All right, so it was Thursday. It was Thursday afternoon. You know where I'm headed. It was Thursday afternoon, and I get a phone call from my hiring manager. She was the head of social for New York, and she said, my account supervisor is going on vacation for 2 weeks starting on Monday. I need someone to come in and replace her while she's gone for 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, this is Thursday. Seriously, you want me to do this? Okay. So I get on board and I put our job description up, make it visual, make it really cool, worked with the copywriter, make it engaging, and I posted it up on our website, on our career site. Then I tweeted it out. I called her up and I said, because she was one of my influencers, right? She's constantly speaking everywhere, South by Southwest, the 140 conference. She's in the social world, so everyone listens to what she's saying. And I said, I'm about to tweet this. I need you to retweet it instantly. And so the tweet was basic and simple, which was new social strategist role at Ogilvy, send at and recruit your LinkedIn profile ASAP. You click on it, it gives you, and I threw in some couple of hashtags in there, right? So she tweeted that out. I'm gonna say in about 10 minutes, I had about 20 applicants, right, that were tweeting me. I quickly went on to their LinkedIn profile. Out of the 20, I emailed 10. Out of the 10, 5 immediately were able to speak to me that afternoon. Of those 5, I narrowed it down to 3. Send those 3 by, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 p.m. that night, or that day. Friday morning, we made the hire. So we were able to identify the person within 45 minutes out of 20, right? So these are the things that you're able to accomplish, and it's like no big deal. Now there's music playing. Is that like the celebration at the end? All right, so those are the steps. They're very simple, they're very quick, anyone can do them. Leave Agnes alone, and that's it. All right, so we're open to... Oh, they're asking for the folks to go to the mics.
There's lots of scared faces out there.
No questions?
No questions.
No.
I don't believe it. All right, go to the mic.
Nando, especially the fact that you were fired for doing what you're successful in doing now. I work in the healthcare sector.
Oui.
We're all about that, firing you if you do the wrong thing. If I share something the marketing department has done that seems wonderful, usually that's great unless it's the wrong thing, right? So my question to you is, how do you now find yourself in this circle where what you did previously got you fired and what you do now got you a brand new job, made you successful, added to your comedy routine, and how do you modify it if you don't work for a spun company?
Oh, okay. Well, step 1, a lot of therapy. Step 2, Weight Watchers. And step 3 is just really, you know what, I'm really passionate about this, right? So the reason I think that I was spending a lot of time on Twitter, and whenever the owner of the company would walk in, I'm tweeting, and there was no hiding it, you know what I'm saying? So I would say I found a job that I was really passionate about. I really like recruiting. I love speaking to people. I hate when it's like, I've got 4 people in a row, and it's like, but then once those calls start happening, I really like speaking to folks and learning. And I'm lucky because I was recruiting in social, so what that meant is I got to speak to those folks who are creating these amazing campaigns for awesome brands. And so I'm sitting there just listening like, and you did what with Facebook? And I'm like taking notes and this and that. And I spoke to like one person that was able to bring up sales at their local Walmart in North Carolina by like 800% because of like a contest that they were doing on Facebook. That's fascinating to me. And a lot of my teammates are here, and they'll attest to, whenever I go to a meeting, I'm like, have you guys been tweeting? They're like, no. So it's just, I turned it around. I was passionate, and I was lucky to find a position where they celebrate that wackiness about me.
So I'm actually going to answer your question a little bit too. So I used to work in the regulated industry in biotech. and started a social media program for recruiting there in a very conservative, not willing to explore it type of environment. And the easiest way to approach that is show them that the conversation is already happening and point to your competitor that's doing it really well.
And you're lucky because now there's so much data to back that up, why you have to be on social and et cetera. Back in 2007,
Right.
there was nothing there. So I should have gotten fired.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. One of my questions is about walking the line between encouraging folks to use social within your company, but also making sure that the content that they're posting or tweeting is something that your marketing team supports, that it's consistent messaging, that it's consistent with your brand, particularly as your company grows and scales and you have more folks that are haphazardly posting. So we want to encourage them to be online, but I also don't want them to be like, oh, hey, but can you take that one down? How do you encourage people to post responsibly?
So we address this during orientation, right? So we talk about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. We happen to be in an industry that's, we get to see celebrities come through our doors, things like that. At that point, we're not allowed to tweet about them, Instagram them, anything like that. So it's just basically get them while they're just fresh and new, and they'll get it, right? So I would say throw it into an orientation, have reminder courses throughout the year, but you really can't have 100% control. Like someone's gonna tweet or Instagram something that's inappropriate. So you just have to have a policy in place on how you're gonna handle that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned social media policy. I'm sure your company has it. If they don't, that's crazy. But perfectly honest, put that into the new hire orientation. To your point, it's going to happen. It's all, something wrong is going to happen. It's all about how you manage it and communicate and are transparent about it went wrong, we're sorry, those sorts of things. And then there's a simple rule of thumb with social media. Is it adding any sort of value to the conversation? Because this isn't really only your company's brand, it's actually more of like your recruiter brand. So are you adding value to your audience, for them? And then the simple rule of thumb really is don't be stupid. Don't post something that very clearly is not in the right direction. And if you use that rule of thumb, you're gonna get great content out there.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Blavelton with Horizon Media in New York, and I just really, first of all, you guys did a fantastic job today. I really thought it was really great. And I said my name because I want to be connecting with both of you on LinkedIn as soon as possible. But my question is, we're toying with your roles in creating them at our company. And, does it belong in marketing? Does it belong in recruiting? I'm leaning, of course, towards recruiting, but with a marketing twist. And do you have job descriptions that you can share with me?
So for Ogilvy, I'll be honest with you, we ourselves are in that struggle right now. I personally believe that it should sit within talent acquisition, talent management, only because we as recruiters speak candidate, right? If you hand it off to marketing, they'll do their marketing stuff with it and then throw it out there. But only we know what is going to motivate a candidate, top talent, to really apply and be part of our culture. So I feel like it really does need to sit with talent management with close communication or close ties to marketing. That's my opinion, and I hope my boss is listening.
And remember my name. I'm going to be reaching out.
Just send us an invite.
Yeah, and totally agree. I sit in talent acquisition. I partner with all the marketing folks regularly, and to your very point, I'm going through something right now where marketing has a huge disconnect with something that we want to produce. That wouldn't happen if the talent acquisition person or this type of role sat in marketing. So, yeah.
So there are pros and cons to each. Yes, sir.
Hey guys, thanks for some great insights. I'm curious. I talk with a lot of my peers regarding their social media strategies and get varying reviews. So I'm just curious from your perspective, when you think about implementing a social media strategy for your company, talent brand, what is the life cycle that you should be expecting? Like when you're talking about the commitment, the investment with your executive team that they should be committed to, what are some of the time frames that we could be communicating to say, hey, this is going to be short term, it's going to be long term? What would you?
Yeah, I guess I can start that one. Let me think about it for a second. So life cycle, okay, I would love for my job to go away within the company, and it would just be the jobs of the recruiters. It would become second nature. So social communication, that sort of marketing, telling your own personal brand and the brand of the company is your job, as well as getting people into the seats. So the life cycle is forever, if you will. But in terms of implementing something like this, I would say you probably would need to do some research up front to see what your gaps are in talent brand, what people think of you versus what you actually are, and developing messaging that way. That could be a very short process, or it could be a year-long $250,000 investment. It really just depends.
I would say, sorry about that, it has to be an ongoing process. It has to just be part of the position, right? You're a recruiter, you're doing employment branding, and you're doing social media in an ideal world. Mm-hmm. But as I said, some people are still not 100% on board with that, so I wouldn't want to force that onto someone. And there's always someone on the team that I'll do it, right? So I would say do an assessment and see who are those people within the team. And as far as how, if it's working, keep doing it, trying to make it better, and if it's not, then stop. So if you did a month worth of job descriptions and you put visuals in there and you haven't seen any increase, then something's not working. So then change it, right? So it's real time, because social is real time. So your measurement, you just have to see what's happening, if that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Cool. Oh, lots of questions now. Cool.
Yes.
Hi there. My name is Pam. I'm with Gap Tech, which is a division of Gap Inc. I'd like to get some insight from you around these third-party aggregators that allow companies and recruiters to have one posting, and it spiders out to a variety of different platforms.
Like Tweet My
Earlier,
Jobs.
one of you said, have each recruiter or each person pick a channel and go for that channel. What do you think about these aggregators that post the same content to different channels?
I'm cool with it. When I was doing video, when I was doing vlogging back in 2007, I got sent out to do a video with one of the designers that designed clothes for the set or the movie Sex and the City. And so I was hired by another blogger to go do a video with him and talk about, what was your inspiration, this and this and that. And I got into this huge argument with the blogger afterwards because she only wanted the video to be on her platform, on her video channel, right? And I'm like, well, I want to post it on mine too. I'm the one that did it. And we got into this huge, debate. And at that time, there wasn't any research to back up. The more it's out there, your audience doesn't always just go to one place, right? People go to different spots to get their information. Mm-hmm. So the more it's around, the better for you. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does, but is there value in disseminating?
Because are you talking about job descriptions? So if somebody aggregates it and throws it out there, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's value in sending some content to Facebook, some content to Twitter,
yes.
some content to Instagram.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's definitely, because those platforms are meant for information to be digested differently, right? So on Twitter, you really can't share that much but a link, so that's going to take them somewhere, mm-hmm. right? On Facebook, you want to, at least I think, you want to be more visual. Right? Mm-hmm. So we're finding a lot of success at Ogilvy. Let me just tell you, I have to brag about this because I hired him, right? His name is Adam, and we were trending at Cannes 2 years ago, and this year as well, above Cannes, above Facebook, and above Twitter. So it was Ogilvy. We were trending above that, and it was because he was taking our Facebook page to the next level, and it was all through infographics, right? So he was attending all these sessions with P. Diddy, just name it. He was going there, and he'd take one quote, throw it up to an infographic, post it, and it would go viral, right? So you won't have that same effect on Twitter, and you won't have that same effect on Vine. Right? So your content needs to be tailored, I feel, to the platform and where that platform goes.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
So I am the only recruiter for our company. I'm the manager of talent acquisition for a luxury hotel group, and I'm working on developing initiatives for employment brand. and developing some social media platforms. So I have a very supportive marketing team, but it's been a little bit of a struggle trying to get buy-in from HR leadership because that would take away time from what they hired me for, which is to recruit. So can you give any insight into how you were able to kind of manage your time? It sounds like you recruit and you manage the social platforms as well.
I used to. Now I just do employment
Okay.
branding. Yeah.
So would
I
you-
was in your same spot.
And so what type of time commitment did you get, maybe percentage-wise, when you started both of those responsibilities?
I was working a lot.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I had to present the work, I had to present the ROI before anything else, right? So I started doing employment branding while I was recruiting 100%. And it takes a lot out of you, but I really feel like it's all in one. Really, you can't really, tweet something or post something or, speak to a candidate without throwing your employer brand in there.
Right.
So it's really about, I would say for you, it would be about figuring out what one or two things you want to start incorporating a little bit more bigger in scale and that you're able to do while you're doing your recruitment, right? Because when you're on LinkedIn, if you're on a LinkedIn recruiter, you're sourcing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Take a 10-minute break and go on Twitter and do some stuff on Twitter, and then come back on LinkedIn, throw out, like someone's comment on an article, share something, and then get back to sourcing again. And then once you're done with that, you jump on the phone because you've got calls. Then you're busy trying to, create the next visual for one of your job descriptions, put it up. So it's all encompassing. It's all in one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. It does.
I would definitely advise too, going back to that partnership argument, you're an army of one, and it sounds like your marketing department is behind you, so
Yes.
use what they have.
Yeah.
This content already exists, just go out there and find it and curate it. It's more about curating the story and telling something that will help convert people. We have a unique situation of being in the Bay Area with all of the crazy tech companies around fighting for that key talent. So if you don't have that immediate brand name recognition, it's telling that backstory, that really awesome stuff that will get people on the hook. That's what you got to find and give to them. And once you found it, just pass it along.
And you didn't hear this from me. Your HR person is not on Twitter. So
Right.
what you tweet, they're never going to find. So
That's fair.
they're.
That's a good point.
That's it. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Brenda, and I'm a marketer. It seems like whenever we're talking about social media and talent brands, it always, for recruiters to work with marketing team, I just want to know or get advice from you guys how for marketing team can be the best partner for the recruiters team to build on the talent brands, and can you share any lessons learned, like do's and do nots?
Where do you work?
I currently work for LinkedIn, and I lead B2B marketing in
Okay.
China.
That's so awesome that you're
Yeah.
even like on that level. I would want you at where I work. Do you want to?
Yeah. In terms of marketing partnership, it sounds like you're already there. And the reason I say that is, traditionally HR, marketing, they don't want to play with each other. So it's just allowing them to come to the table and produce something for talent acquisition is awesome. So what I would say is, as a marketer, be proactive and go to HR and say, what do you need from us? What story are you trying to tell, and how can we help you tell it? It's all about content these days, so if you're willing to help them produce stuff, go for it. Figure out what they really, really want to tell and make it for them. It's not that. So the question was, why is there traditionally the HR marketing butthead thing? HR isn't seen as revenue driving normally, so marketing is always tied to a specific product group. So when HR comes and says, I need you to work on my website with me, they'll just say, go away. But they then realize that the talent is tied to the revenue as well. So the fact that you already have that relationship in place, that's awesome. Yeah.
I think what really needs to happen is when you're a good marketer and you have a really successful marketing company, it's your job to drum up new business, to really sell the business, and it's all business development oriented, right? When you're really good at talent management and recruitment, you know that you need the talent. If you go out and get a big client, you need talent to run that piece of business, right? So it's just really creating that alignment between, I get business development, but it's really about talent. It's really about talent management, because no matter how big of an account you bring in, or how much you upsell the current client, you're always going to need people. And we need just as much marketing tools, assets, materials to bring those people in as you would for a good client development, right?
Definitely.
So
All right,
keep
thank
that in mind. Yep.
My question was related to a previous question. Thank goodness I have the backing of a great brand, and I actually recruit for marketing, so that's not a problem. I had a social media following. What I didn't expect, I've been on this job for 2 months, and my first social media campaign generated 179 direct messages, and I almost flipped out. It took me a week to go through it. Almost to the point where, like, well, how much time do I spend on engaging the potential talent, and how much time, because you can't let it sit too long, because then, if you get back to them 2 weeks later, well, what tweet, what, huh? It's like you have to engage them right away. So my question to you is, how do you determine what's appropriate when you actually do have to look through resumes and interview people and do the actual recruiting, and how much do you spend on engaging the talent? Because I feel like that could be a full-time job in itself.
It is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And it's actually,
Full-time job.
it's a two-person full-time job, right? But here's you kind of leverage your own authority, and you say those that are qualified, only those that are qualified or meet requirements will be contacted. So the onus is no longer on you, right? Because I would get folks, that tweet that you sent out, and no offense, but I got folks that were like clerks at 7-Eleven saying, I can run your IBM, social media. And it's like, okay, just because you're on Twitter and you're tweeting Popeyes does not mean you can run our accounts. So I'm not going to take the time and tweet them, right?
Right.
And it's really not a cruel situation. It's just they weren't a match. They just weren't a match.
So do you put in the tweet itself?
No,
that
I put
you
it in the
belong-
job description.
Oh, okay.
Remember I told you about the call to action?
Yeah.
Like tweet once you've applied and message me for on LinkedIn. And only thanks for your interest, but only those that meet the qualifications will be contacted. That's it.
Yeah, the good thing is that I do have a highly curated, separate audiences in each one of my social media, so it did generate an awful lot of candidates, not necessarily everything for the one role, but I'm staffing up a whole division, so I was able to pipeline into other positions. But it took forever to go through them, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this again, because then I'm going to spend another week just engaging potential
But
talent.
if you had not done that, where would your time have been spent? Meaning, would you have been looking at other candidates where?
Probably in Taleo or LinkedIn. The good thing is that 63% of my candidates that actually went to Taleo and applied for the job were coming from LinkedIn, which was very appropriate, and and I found a lot of good candidates. But it was just so overwhelming. I had never experienced that before in previous jobs, and I was like, oh my God, they warned me that it was going to be 10 times whatever I was used to, but I didn't believe it, I guess.
Right.
And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
I feel like that's a good situation to be in versus like I've tweeted this every day for an hour and I have no one, and I have a staff meeting in an hour,
So, I would also say that, if you're getting too much in, don't run it. Or, spend that time sourcing, or run it in a way that you're really going to get those very, very niche targeted people.
Yeah, I tried
that
to do
kind of
that.
goes to the advertising piece on, like, you can spend $60 and get 3 candidates applying,
But that's
and
the
they're the
great
ones you need. And social is phenomenal with that stuff. The targeting, particularly on the Facebook back end,
Yeah.
I can tell you if you're shopping for a car right now.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like, I could pull that data from Facebook. It's terrifying. So yeah, I would say just really, really tailor down.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to ask, since you have been doing this for a while and you look at your metrics and you change what you're doing based on your metrics, like some surprises that you had where you thought, this is going to be great, and it did not turn out that way, or I don't know why I'm doing this, and it was like, oh my God, this really works.
I had a big one. So I think I'm a creative designer, and I'm not. So they preloaded Photoshop on my Mac. And so when I got into the idea of doing visual job descriptions, I was like, I can do this, And so I did one, right? And I was so proud of it. And what I did was I took a picture of the Ogilvy hallway, and so I made it, like a little banner. And then I actually took a social media strategist behind a white wall, and then I cut them out. So then I put them on top of the, the thing. And then I put like a quote and stuff. I was so happy. I should have showed it on there. And I was like so happy, and I was just like, yes, well, I'm gonna make the hire in about 3 days with this, and we posted out, and some of the strategists tweeted it out, whatever. And I happened to be on Facebook on one of the strategists, and they were talking about that job description. And they said, who made this? You guys should be hiring a creative, not a social media strategist. This looks like a kindergartner made it. And I was like, but that's all I know how to do. So it isn't always like fun and like the feedback, you have to take it, So now I've got creatives doing stuff that I can't interpret, but that was one of my biggest disappointments. It's more of an ego blow to me than,
Yeah, I think for me, it's experimenting with things. I think I didn't necessarily have an example of something that I didn't really have a great experience with. Drumming
rub
up
it in my face.
Oh yeah. Drumming up leads on social can actually be incredibly difficult. Like converting people to an in-person event or something like that. People might think, I have this list of 200 targeted people. I want 30 people to show up. Good luck. You need like 10 times that many people to actually get them to come. So some of those learnings, setting your expectations realistically, then again, you turn around and you put, 20 minutes into a slideshow deck and pop that up and get 250,000 views. That's just like, what? So it just really is kind of playing and experimenting with it that, you'll get the yeses and the nos.
We have 2 minutes left, and so we have one more question.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm from Bare Essentials. I was just wondering, speaking of meetings, using meetups and actually targeting your audience in that way and taking it from social media back to, the real world, not the real world, but actually having a physical space, but using that, that social media to actually meet people face to face and recruit that way. Do you see that as kind of moving this towards the future? And then, I had a second question, but.
I mean, I'll take that one. Yes, for sure. Particularly in tough talent markets like San Francisco or in engineering, things like that. I mean, it is that one-on-one, face-to-face type relationships that really matter. You can start filling those ranks using social campaigns, things like that. But yeah, I mean, we actually just did a recruiting event that was, well, it wasn't really a recruiting event, it was a branding event. But we invited people from all sorts of different avenues just to get them in a room and have them chat. We do sourcing off of meetups all the time, just to find candidates and find people to talk to. So absolutely, I would say it's the future.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone.